Welcome to the deep dive. You know that dream, right? That one where you're teaching a craft, sharing your passion, especially something so artistic and personal like barbering or cosmetology. You picture the fades, the styling, the color theory. It's pure artistry. It feels exciting.
Definitely. You imagine shaping careers, sharing what you love.
Exactly. But then there's the flip side. The moment you actually step into school ownership, that romantic idea, it kind of bumps up against a pretty different reality. All that fun part, the creative stuff, it quickly gets balanced, maybe even overshadowed by the real work.
That's the core of it, yeah.
So today we're doing a deep dive with a very direct question. Are you really ready to start a barber or beauty school? Our goal here is to have a really honest conversation, to unpack what it truly takes, beyond just loving the craft. And we're incredibly lucky to have the insights of Lauren Moser Samuels and Roderick Samuels from Hair Lab Detroit Barber School guiding us. They've really laid out the unvarnished truth.
And that truth, well, that's exactly what we need to get into today. We're going way beyond just the aesthetics of scissors and combs. This deep dive is going to cover those often overlooked bits, the rules, the regulations, compliance, and the critical importance of understanding accountability, especially with things like, say, federal financial aid Title IV funds from the Department of Education, plus accreditation, staffing challenges, and what it really means to uphold licensure standards. It's about setting you up for success, not just, dreaming about it.
Okay, let's unpack that right away because it feels absolute fundamental. Accreditation. If you're thinking about offering federal financial aid, which, let's be honest, is crucial for student access for many, then accreditation is just non-negotiable, right? What's maybe the biggest thing people miss about this first massive step?
You nailed it. Accreditation is the foundation. And yeah, that's probably where prospective owners might underestimate the sheer commitment involved. It means your school has to stay in continuous compliance with a recognized accrediting body. Think NBSES or COE, those are the big ones validating your quality. The biggest misconception, probably not that you need it, but the ongoing nature of it. It's not a one-and-done stamp. It means audits. It means continuous improvement plans. And honestly, you will spend a lot of time on documentation, maybe more than you think you'll spend actually teaching. What's really fascinating here is it's about so much more than just teaching hair techniques. You don't just open a school to teach the craft. You open it to meet federal guidelines. You open it to protect student outcomes and ultimately to really lift the integrity of the whole trade. It's a big responsibility, systemically speaking.
That makes sense, that it's this whole ongoing system you're building and maintaining. Okay, so beyond the federal money part and accreditation, what about the state level? Because that feels like another layer of rules, probably pretty complex, and likely different depending on where you actually set up shop.
Well, absolutely. That's another whole dimension. Your state board, they're the ones setting minimum curriculum hours. They dictate teacher qualifications, safety protocols, all the crucial stuff. And as an owner, you have to know these rules inside and out. And importantly, you've got to write clear, enforceable policies based on them. Because trust me, someone will ask, someone will check. If we connect this back, these aren't suggestions, they're demands. And then there's the whole reality of student behavior, which people sometimes gloss over. Late arrivals, dress code stuff, maybe even disrespectful conduct. It happens. You realize pretty quickly you can't just be the cool mentor focusing only on the art. You become a policy enforcer, disciplinarian, and sometimes, yeah, even a bit of a therapist. The authors from Hair Lab Detroit really stressed this. They had to build super clear, consistent, and enforceable systems. Because, as they put it, without structure, chaos wins. You need that framework for learning to even happen.
Right, structure is key. So with all that structure, all those regulations, how does that impact the people side? Specifically, finding and maybe even more importantly, keeping good instructors. That sounds like it could be a massive hurdle, especially with everything we hear about skilled worker shortages.
It is. It's a huge challenge, genuinely. There's a real national shortage of licensed instructors who aren't just technically good, but who are also truly passionate about teaching and critically professional day in, day out. And even when you find those amazing people, keeping them is just as tough. It's not as simple as, hiring someone who's a great barber. People often don't get this. Being a skilled, licensed professional doesn't automatically make you a great teacher. They have to want to teach. They need to model that professionalism constantly. And they need to practice what the authors call the silent work, all that behind-the-scenes stuff, the mentoring, the standard setting. Hair Lab Detroit shared this little anecdote that just hits it home. They've lost count of the times they've said, man, if we just had 3 more instructors, we could open a whole other floor. Yeah, but finding and keeping those three, it's just not that simple. You're constantly nurturing talent, not just hiring.
Nurturing talent, managing compliance, being the rule enforcer. Wow, it definitely sounds like this isn't a set it and forget it's kind of deal. All these rules, all this accountability, it really does sound like a task that just never ends. Is there like a common, maybe seemingly small compliance thing that new owners often stumble over, but it turns into a real nightmare?
You're absolutely right. It's definitely not set it and forget it. Compliance, well, it never sleeps. That's the reality. A seemingly small detail that can blow up. Often it's in the day-to-day record keeping. Things like meticulously tracking student attendance or missing deadlines for financial aid reports. People think, oh, I'll catch up later. But these aren't just internal notes. They directly impact federal funding eligibility. They're hard requirements. Whether it's keeping those student files perfect, submitting aid reports on time, or doing the monthly SAP updates, that's satisfactory academic progress tracking if students are hitting their academic and attendance goals. It's constant. You're not just running a classroom. You're running a school, yes, but also a business and a heavily regulated operation. You will be held accountable. The Department of Education, the accreditors, they audit everything, from attendance logs right through to gainful employment stats like, are your graduates actually getting jobs in the field? It really raises that important question. If the mere thought of endless paperwork and regular audits makes you break out in a cold sweat, this might not be the path for you.
Okay, so all this training, all these hoops to jump through, all the compliance, it's all pointing towards that license for the students, right? That's the goal. But the source material says that the actual value of that license, it's often kind of underestimated, almost taken for granted sometimes. Why do you think that happens? And what are the sort of real-world impacts of that mindset?
That's such a crucial point, and sadly, yeah, we see too often students, and honestly, even some working professionals, they just don't always grasp the full weight of what that license represents. They undervalue the privilege, the access it gives you to work legally, the trust placed in you, and the big responsibility that comes with it. Why? Maybe because the journey to get it can feel long and hard, so once they have it, it just feels like a hurdle cleared, a piece of paper. The real-world consequence, though, is that it can lead to a devaluing of the profession itself. Maybe people cutting corners, not staying current. The authors, Lauren and Roderick, they've really made it their mission to shift that perspective. They stress that the license isn't just permission to cut hair. It's the promise that you've been properly trained, you've been tested, and you are trusted by the public and the state. And critically, we need more school owners who genuinely stand behind that promise, ensuring their graduates really understand and embody it.
Okay, so we've covered some really big challenges, the complex realities of opening and running one of these schools. We've hit on regulations, staffing, that constant compliance grind. Now, for you listening right now, maybe thinking this path is for you, the authors pose some really critical questions, and these aren't just things to ponder, they're essential readiness checks. First up, accreditation. Do you really understand the steps, the costs involved, and the timeline for getting that NAC, ACE, or TOE approval?
That's the starting block.
Next, financial aid. Are you familiar with Title IV compliance? Do you know what the audit process looks like for handling federal student aid?
Super important if you want to offer aid.
Curriculum. Can you actually build a program that meets not just your state's requirements, but potentially national standards too?
They need to be solid.
How about student behavior? Are you genuinely prepared to manage conflict? Can you do it with both empathy and authority? Because you'll need both.
Daily reality, like you said.
And instructors. Do you have a plan, a pipeline to recruit, train, and then support qualified teachers? We talked about how hard that is.
It's almost a job in itself.
And finally, licensure culture. Are you willing to lead with real integrity? To actively fight for the value of licensed education within your school and maybe even beyond?
That's about the why.
Yeah, these questions, they're designed to make you pause, aren't they?
Absolutely. They're not just boxes to tick. It's a deep self-assessment. Are you truly ready for what this demands? It's demanding, no doubt, but it can also be incredibly rewarding.
So when we step back and look at everything we've unpacked today, it's crystal clear that opening a barber or beauty school isn't just, starting a small business or pursuing a creative hobby.
Exactly. And the authors have this final word that just nails it. Opening a barber or beauty school is not a hustle. It's a calling. They're really clear. If you're just doing it for the money or for fame or maybe just to be your own boss, well, this industry, as they say, will humble you quick. But if you're genuinely stepping up to lead, to serve the community, to honor the traditions of this craft while building its future, then yeah, take that next step.
Because the work is hard. Let's not sugarcoat it. The rules are strict. The road is long.
But the impact, that impact can be truly generational.
Wow. This whole deep dive, it really makes you think, doesn't it? About how many supposed dream jobs or passion projects out there might actually be way more about structured service and rigorous compliance than just the purely creative part we see on the surface. Makes you wonder, what other industries might have this kind of hidden real work behind the scenes, just waiting to surprise people who only see the glamorous side?